grabbing the headlines here in France. I'm joined by Florence Villeminot now. First of all, a lot of focus on politics and a revolt Prime Minister Manuel Valls is facing within the Socialist Party. Tell us more, Flo.
That's right. Well, a lot of socialists are upset about the savings plan that the Prime Minister outlined last week, his 50 billion euros saving plan. They think it's too much. And so last week, a group of Socialist MPs wrote to the Prime Minister and said that they wanted him to cut that savings plan down to 35 billion euros. This is the front page of Le Figaro that says Valls has to negotiate with the Socialist Party. It is, after all, his majority. So yesterday, he met with these so-called socialist rebels and said, yes, he would back down. He would make some concessions. Now, it's unclear exactly what those concessions are going to be. It's likely going to be a symbolic gesture, but it will reassure his majority, according to a lot of papers today. Now, Le Figaro says that even though this is going to be a small gesture, it's too much, and Valls needs to know how to say no, even to his friends. And that's what you can read there in the editorial of Le Figaro. They say that by making these concessions, he's just opening up the door and setting a precedent and showing that if you complain enough, well, the government will back down.
All right, well, the left-leaning daily Libération is a bit more supportive of Valls.
That's right. They say that Valls is taking a step-by-step approach here, and it's actually a sly PR strategy that's a smart strategy. It's basically a lot of people within the left don't like him these days. They think he's too right-wing. So what he's doing here is cozying up to the more moderate wing of that group that don't like him very much, the people who hate him the least, let's say. And basically, by making these small, marginal concessions, it's basically just a small price to pay to ensure the support of his majority and to appease his camp. But Libération in its editorial says this PR campaign, that's what they're calling it, it's unlikely to have long-lasting effects. If the Prime Minister really wants to consolidate his fragile majority, it's going to take a lot more than these small-scale political maneuvers, according to Libé.
Well, more criticism is coming in again of the Prime Minister from the far left.
That's right. Now, the far left has been very critical of Manuel Valls. They say that he's, too right-wing for them, and his savings plan is basically just another spoonful of austerity. Now, this is the front page of L'Humanité, the communist paper. It says it's a no-brainer between austerity and social justice. The left shouldn't have to hesitate, and it should obviously choose social justice. But it says, for now, the government is continuing to be deaf to these voices calling for change.
Of course, public opinion does actually support Valls as well, which is the thing that, between all these wranglings between political parties, the survey of the weekend, I think it was 69% of French people do support a cuts plan. So at least he's got that behind him, even if members of his own party aren't too happy about it.
All right, let's leave Valls alone for a second. What about a quick word about the upcoming European elections?
That's right. Now, there are 8 electoral districts in France, whether it's mainland France or overseas territories. And Le Figaro carried out a poll in the Eastern District to see how people are going to vote. And the party that comes out ahead is the far-right National Front Party. 26% of people are planning on voting for the party, according to this poll. So they're 2 points ahead of the opposition UMP, which comes in at 24%. And the Socialist Party comes in a distant third, 15.5%. So this falls in line with what a lot of people have predicted for these European elections. Basically, it's going to be a slap in the face for the Socialist Party and a big boost for the far-right National Front Party.
Right, well, if we turn away from politics for a second, there's been a feud between 2 rappers which has turned quite violent.
That's right. This is getting a lot of attention in the French press today. It's pretty unprecedented here in France. Let's take a look at the front page of Aujourd'hui en France. Quand le rap dérape, so when rap turns bad. And you can see the photo of the 2 main protagonists there. You have Booba on the left and Ruff on the right. They're the biggest names in French rap today, and they're huge rivals. So what happened? Well, you can read more about it in Le Parisien. Ruff, so on the right there, he was placed in custody yesterday after a fight broke out at a branch of Uncut. That's a clothing brand that's owned by Booba. Now, a 19-year-old employee at that store was seriously injured after, according to witnesses, being kicked and punched in the scuffle. So a lot of the press is focusing on this. They're really outraged in Le Parisien. Le Parisien says this has really soiled the name of French rap because up until now, all this gangster attitude was really just for show, and all the fighting was happening in words, in lyrics. Now, Libé agrees. This is the latest chapter in this ongoing feud between Ruff and Booba, but their war of words really crossed a line yesterday. And Libé says, it's hard not to think about that famous feud between Biggie Smalls and Tupac that happened in the States that cost the lives of those two rappers. And so Liebe says it's really a sad day for French rap.
Quite worrying. They have so many fans, each of them, who could, be influenced by this kind of behaviour. All right, Flo, thanks very much for that update there. Coming up in focus today, we look at Denmark, a country which is losing a war against organised crime that's making a vast profit out of cannabis. Do stay tuned.